Hello, Mike.
Hello, Paul. How are you?
I'm good. I can see you're cuddling your cat there.
I'm cuddling Stripey. There he
Hello,
is.
Stripey.
He's
He's
just come
looking.
back from the he's come back from the cattery, and so he's all clingy at the moment. Although he's not a very clingy cat. He'll disappear any second now when he's had enough.
He
Throat.
looks very big and cuddly.
He is quite a large cat.
Yeah,
Getting
yeah.
on now. It's nearly 19 years old.
Oh, blimey, that is old. We
So
were just figuring our cat Ginny is about 16,
yeah,
but 19 is a very respectable age for a
certainly
cat.
is. Certainly is.
So if you're listening to this just on the podcast, then I should say you can see Stripey by coming to our website, eldritchstories.com, or watching it on YouTube as well, because we do put this one out. These Eldritch Extras, we do release the video version as well, so you can see mine and Mike's faces in glorious color.
Well, this is
I don't know why anybody want to do that.
Why you'd want to do that? Who knows? But yes, I can tell he's had enough because you can see he's every now and again he will have a little look around, which means he's looking to how he can jump out of my arms.
Yeah.
I'm going to
Where's the food bowl?
Release him now.
Yeah.
Release the Kraken.
Yeah.
Ready? Go on then.
Off he goes. There
And
he
then
goes.
he's on.
Yeah.
And away.
Yes, so welcome to Eldritch Extras, everybody. This is our show that we do to accompany our Eldritch stories, which are short stories, 6, 7, 8 minutes long, read by myself or Mike, and written also by myself and Mike, and released every 2 weeks. We're well into season 2. No, we're well into the second part of season 1 now. And season 1 features 12 stories. More of those to look forward to.
What was the last story number?
The last story number was number 7.
So it's got a way to go then. That's
Porch Pirate.
Just halfway, isn't it?
Yeah, so just over. Well, we're just into the second half. So yes, indeed.
So plenty more Eldritch goodness coming to your ears, coming at you.
Now, Mike, you've been on transatlantic journeys.
Well, and indeed I have. Yeah, I've just came back yesterday, in fact, from America, where I've been to Wisconsin and Madison in Wisconsin to attend Gamehole Con, where I was one of their special guests. So, which is great. I've not been to Wisconsin before, and I haven't actually. I don't think I've ever been in America in October, in the run up to Halloween. And the autumnal colours of the trees changing. So I got to see a lot of that because I flew into Detroit and met up with a buddy at Cozium, Rick Mites, and he drove from Michigan to Wisconsin, which is just over a 6-hour drive. So a lot of greenery turning into reds and browns in terms of the trees, which was really really nice, and got to obviously enjoy the delights of roadside dining in America.
Marvelous. That's always good.
Always good. But yeah, Gamehole Con was fantastic. It's a lovely little convention. I've not been to Gary Con, but it strikes me as kind of like the twin side of the coin to Gary Con, as it's kind of a lot of old school gaming to some degree as well as new, but there's a lot of people involved in the gaming industry, now and then, in terms of a lot of folks from back in the day of TSR, come to these conventions and they meet up and run games and so forth. So it was a great chance to kind of just meet some people, who names I've seen on books for many years and never met. So but
you mentioned Gary Con, named after Gary Gygax. I mean, I believe you were in a game with Gary's son.
I was, yes. So Luke Gygax is a very nice chap, and we ended up on Friday night in a game of first edition D&D, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Luke was playing, I was playing. In fact, Jeremiah, Rick, and Jeff from Cozium were also there with me, and Bob Geist from U2 Can Cthulhu, as well as a couple of others. There was a big party. We all had these pre-gens. We're all kind of like crazy levels of like 8th to 10th level. So I had I had some kind of half orc fighter on like 115 hit points, and we played this kind of well, I don't know if you remember back in the day, the old TSR D&D module called Expedition to the Barrier Peaks, which
I know the name. I never played it.
Ah, right. Well, it was an unusual one in that you've got a bunch of adventurers heading to the mountains, and in the mountains is a crashed UFO spaceship.
Oh, brilliant.
And so they go in, they're going around, not knowing what this technology is, but basically you can get laser guns and bombs and all that kind of thing. And this scenario we played was kind of like an extension to that. We'd kind of, so we started with like laser guns on our character sheets and all this kind of crazy stuff. And we were then going through trying to hunt down, trying to find a ship that was kind of, a fantasy spaceship, getting that, and then going through different dimensions to track down this mind flayer who would some bad dude basically, and running around. So the first monster we met was some gigantic kind of demon thing, which killed one of us straight away by stamping on him. And then one of my equipment was these special fire bombs, and I didn't know what else to do. I'll just throw the firebomb at him. And I think the GM was saying, that he actually gave me a set of dice for doing a cool thing in the game, because apparently that was the only way to kind of take this thing down, and I just happened to look on it and do it. So that was good fun. It was played it in it was an old school game played in an old school way. There was the GM set some very clear rules when we started. Whatever you say at the table is what your character is saying and doing. So if you say it, you do it. And we were told we only had 2 breaks. We could call 2 timeouts during the duration of the game.
Right.
Otherwise, it was going on. And if you weren't there, your character.
And that was in like a 24-hour session, was it?
Well, it was. I'm not sure how long it was meant to be.
Yeah.
But we started about just after 8 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah.
And I think we finished. I'm trying to remember now, but I think it was around about 2:30.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I was jet lagged, and the previous night I'd gone to bed at 9 o'clock at night because I was so tired. How I kept awake? Well, I think I actually did fall asleep at the table at least 2 times, with Bob Geist ribbing me in the ribs, I think, to wake me up.
Oh, marvelous! Good on Bob.
Yeah,
because you're not usually one for the longer game either.
I'm not a fan of long games at conventions. So. But I did kind of go in blind. But we played it. We actually got to the end and dispatched the evil mind flayer.
So was Luke running it?
No, Luke was just a player.
Somebody was DMing a game for the son of the man who created Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah. That's quite a burden, I would have thought.
Slight intimidating, I would have thought. But the guy who ran it used to play with Gary Gygax himself. So
oh my God, what?
So I think he was fine. I don't think there was any intimidation involved.
I was envious that you played with Luke Gygax, and now you're saying, I mean, he would have played with Gary, right? But now also there was another guy. So there were 2 people who played with like the original source of role-playing games there.
What he didn't know about the rules, it's kind of all the, I mean, as you will remember, first edition Dungeons AD&D,
a lot of rules,
and a lot of it, and and kind of sometimes a bit crazy because there's like, sometimes you're rolling high, sometimes you're rolling low, sometimes you're rolling on a D10 and then it could be high or low, and then sometimes you're rolling on a D6, and and none of it made any sense in terms of just why are we rolling high on that one and low on that.
There's a design ethos in gaming today that there's this, like, the idea of a core mechanic, and everything is based around, a percentage roll and trying to roll low, or a D20 and you're trying to roll high, or 2D6 and you're trying to roll above 7 or 10. So there's these core roll mechanics which are seen as a positive thing if they are used throughout the game for various things. Where back then with AD&D, which is, I must say, that's the game that I started with in 1981 or whenever it was, and that was like our Bibles for gaming. So Yeah, that's like that. That is the original source for me. And I'm also fascinated when I read the Dungeon Master's Guide recently for like the first time, really cover to cover.
Yeah,
So I've always just dipped into it because it is designed as a reference book, really not something to be read in one sitting. And I'm fascinated to know how people played the game in the 1970s, like how Gary's group, what that experience was like, because it isn't something that was ever recorded. There were no actual plays. Today, we have lots of groups who put their play out on YouTube or just podcasts and audio. So that is something that is, that's recorded, and people will be able to see how those people play in 2023. But we don't know how people played in 1974, 75.
Sure.
And that, because some of the things when you read that stuff, it's like you can have up to 20 players in a group, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
I'm not sure they sat down with 20 players or whether it was a pool of 20 players, some of whom might turn up to the game. So things like that, and just the approaches and the way stuff was played. I mean, even talking to those guys now, I'm guessing their memories are going to be hazy and so on.
Oh, sure. But I mean, if that game was anything to go by, they were pretty hot on the rules. And, where are you targeting that fireball there? Well, that hasn't done anything because it's gone in the wrong direction. There was no latitude for mistakes.
Right.
And we had a period at the start of the game where we could ask any questions about our character sheets and abilities and all that. And then after that, it was kind of like, well, you're just going to have to get on with it. I'll answer these questions now, but when we're in game, and we're going to go for it.
Oh, quite a disciplined approach.
Really. Oh, really disciplined. Yeah.
And was it that other term we hear now spoken of, it's rulings, not rules. So there's a lot of situations, meaning that there's a lot of situations where there's going to be no rule for this in the book, and it's up to the GM to sort of make their own decision based on the rules, but it's very much the decisions, the judges' rulings at the table, and their kind of their own judgment.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to some degree there's a bit of that as well.
Yeah. All good. Yeah,
so that was good. I got to spend some good time with Bob Geis and Rachel Wolf of the YouTube Cthulhu. And they had a small team there, but they were running games, all weekend, and they do, put a lot of effort into their games, lots of props and so forth. And that was that was just nice to have some time, because normally when we're at the same conventions, we're all really busy, and but this is a bit more relaxed than something like Gen Con, so you can find a bit more time, and that was really nice. And then I got to catch up with Corey and Steve, who are good friends from who we see at Gamehole Con and shows like that. And those guys did this massive charity game on the Saturday, and raising, I'm not sure if it was about $5,000 or more, maybe more.
Is it Crawl?
One game. This is just one big game.
Crawl for the Cure, it's called.
That's right. Yeah, kind of
like a dungeon crawl. Yeah,
and so that was nice catching up with those guys, and the whole convention is organized, run by Alex Kramer, and he's the guy with the Gamehole, which is what the con is based on. And
what does that mean?
I mean, I didn't know till I got there. No. It's a little bit of a strange name.
What is the Gamehole?
Well, on the first evening, there's a kind of a reception event for kind of the guests and so forth. And that's held at Alex owns a pub in Madison, or a bar. And it's quite a big, bar, does food and everything. And everyone's in there having a drink and a meal. And then I get taken upstairs to the rooms above, and I guess they're private. But it's kind of Alex's game. Well, it's not game room; it's game zone, because there's multiple rooms. But he's got his main gaming room, which there's a plaque on the door says the Gamehole, and then that is the Gamehole. And he's got a lovely big table. The GM's chair is a massive wooden throne.
Fantastic.
And it's surrounded by his collection of gaming stuff, and he's he's one of those serious collectors. He was telling me he has one of his mission has been to get one of everything put out for Dungeons and Dragons in the original shrink wrap.
What? Christ!
I think
just one of everything would be amazing.
Collection, I think he's more or less there, if not already.
My God!
He's showing he's got a complete run of Dragon magazine, and tucked away. There's a little side room with non kind of D&D stuff that he collects and stuff, and there's all sorts of stuff in there, and there's a row of Cthulhu stuff in there, and we were chatting about that, and but yeah, very, very impressive. He's got, and of course, with his links to the old team at TSR, he's got on the wall kind of the original kind of hand drawn maps for, I can't remember which one. I don't think it's Forgotten Realms, but something like Forgotten Realms,
right?
All these kind of like priceless kind of things, really, and it was just amazing. But and then he kind of added to the collection over the weekend because Mark Miller of Traveller fame was at the show, and at one point Mark presented Alex with the very first box set of Traveller, the one with the black box, literally the first one they got when they were getting the print run.
Oh my! So like not just a first edition, but the first one off the thing,
one with
the printer.
Kind of a certificate of authenticity from Mark Miller,
man himself.
Again, something you wouldn't find normally anyway.
No.
So it was quite fascinating, really.
And these things are quite old now. I mean, we're talking about something that's nearly 50 years old,
and very collectible. They had the auction, and they were various pieces in there, but they had like a white box D&D, the wood grain box D&D.
Oh my God!
All these kind of.
Any idea what that went for?
I think I'm trying to remember now that I think the white box might have went for 4,000 or 5,000. I think.
Really? Yeah.
I can't remember, but
I've always wanted one, but what I'm thinking is I'm just going to do a craft project myself and just make a facsimile of one, because you can get the text online.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, just for myself, I'll just make my own white box and just try and make it look like the original thing with the little booklets and print them and just do them for my, and I think that's fine to do it for yourself. I'm not going to sell it. But and then, I'll feel like I've got a version.
Feel like you've got a version.
Because it is, even a tatty version is like $1,000. I mean, best part of.
What's really cool, every year, John Kovalik, the artist, Dork Tower and all that.
Dork Tower and that.
He unfortunately, he always comes, but he couldn't come this year due to ill health. But he works with Alex, and each year he basically designs a plushie toy. A convention, so there's a whole kind of range going back 10 years or so, and they're all kind of like classic D&D monsters. So we did, I think the first one was an owlbear.
Because it's got to be the owlbear, hasn't it?
And then there's a displacer beast and a mimic, Chester.
Yeah.
And so this year's, and they're all kind of like about that high, little plushies,
about a foot high,
easy to put in a suitcase and all the rest of it. But very cool. And this year's was a gelatinous cube.
Oh, nice.
In fact, I should have got it down. It's upstairs, but it's pretty big. It's a big old plushy cube that doesn't really compact, and it is very cool. And so I spent a bit of time working out how I could fit it in my suitcase. I managed to do it in the end, but they did a whole run of them at the auction, as in they got one of them, one set with every one.
Yeah,
the early ones like the owlbear are becoming collector's pieces in themselves.
Desirable,
so it's quite quite interesting. And there was the trade hall, and Chaosium had a booth there, and Rick and Jeremiah were kind of running the booth, and that was cool. And but we caught up with Pirate Borg and
was Luke there, or
Luke was
Luke
there,
Stratton.
and chatting about that. A great nice big stall. We know suitably decked out with all the pirate ball kind of stuff and so on. But yeah, there was a whole bunch. And
so what kind of do you know what kind of turnout they get for Gamehole, like attendees?
I'm probably going to get this really wrong, but it's around about 2,000, I think.
Okay, so it's
either 2 or 4. I can't quite remember, but it never.
But in that kind of area,
yeah, it never seemed crammed. It's quite a nice area, quite nicely spaced out, and so there's always people, but you're not packed. It's not like Gen Con where everyone's kind of squeezed together just to get around the trade hall.
Sounds great. This sounds like one I want to go to.
Yeah, I think you'd definitely enjoy it. And
I know quite a few people there, and
and Alex is a very gracious host and really looks after everyone, and it's definitely recommended if you can get to it. Yeah.
Now, you went all the way. Wisconsin, Madison, Gamehole Con, playing games with, famous people. What did you get to eat?
Well, clearly
the important. Let's get to the important stuff. We've saved this till last.
Well, Bob and Rachel took me out into Madison one night, and we I think Rachel found it. It was a what they described as authentic Wisconsin fare.
Wow.
So, which
what
was
is that?
Basically,
does it involve beef?
It involved sausages.
Oh,
so it was there was like bratwursts and such, but they're like a hot dog kind of thing with and there was a whole salad bar, but it wasn't salad, it was pickles. So whatever
I love pickles.
Exactly. I mean, there was sauerkraut and jalapenos and
gherkins.
Many gherkins, and a whole wall of different kinds of mustard.
Amazing.
So that was very cool. And obviously, the other thing that the real kind of local delicacy is the fried bean curds, which are little
nice,
cheese curds. Sorry, and
bean curd, cheese curd, very different things. But right, okay,
so
both good.
Little cubes. That have been kind of fried and so forth. I mean, as you know, cheese is not my big thing.
You're not big on cheese.
Not big on cheese, but I did have a go at a couple of those, and they were quite nice. And they were okay, but not my thing. But I enjoyed the pickles particularly.
Yeah,
so that was one night, and then another night actually in walking distance from the event, just over the road was can't remember the name, but basically a smokehouse. So.
Awesome.
You go over there and you could get smoked brisket and pork and all that kind of stuff. So I ended up with some brisket because it was very nice, and you got your sweet potato fries and brisket and
And was it kind of a deluxe kind of place? Because a lot of those smokehouse places that I've been to are quite I don't know if basic is the word, but kind of. They're not high end necessarily.
No, this wasn't quite like that, but it wasn't super high. It was kind of like a regular kind of restaurant bar. A little bit. It wasn't kind of your kind of roadside kind of barbecue with a. It was more restauranty than that, but
because some of those places they get like queues down the street, don't they, for the barbecue?
Absolutely.
And I remember when I was in Arizona, and there was this place. And we drove by it on the way to somewhere else. And it just looks like they got a couple of steam engines on the curbside, on the roadside there. And you can see smoke coming out in these big black tanks. And you're like, whoa, what the hell is... Oh, okay, that looks good. We got to go back there. And it was great.
So, that kind of stuff. It was all, all great, really. So, but yeah, if you can get there... again around middle of October, it's definitely a show worth going to. It's a lot of fun. Yeah,
cool.
So so I was doing that. You must have been doing something equally as exciting, I imagine, back in Buckingham. So
back in, well, it never stops here, really. It's party time 24/7.
It's like a world of fun, Buckingham.
Not a lot been happening, really. Got a few old friends visiting this week, so that's been nice. A friend from Austria and a friend from the Lake District, and we're all getting together and catching up on
Are
old
they
times.
gamers or non-gaming?
We played a few like card games last night. We played a Star Flux.
Oh,
Flux, the card game where the rules keep changing.
Yeah.
And I didn't immediately click that, it's a Star Trek thing. It's maybe Star Trek and Star Wars, but it's like, okay. So that was quite fun. And then we played a game that I've got called Color Brain.
Right.
You played that?
Yeah, I'm not ahead of that one.
You got a bunch of cards, and all they are is colors. So I think you got 9 colors, your various colors. And then the question cards are like, it'll have a number. That's the number of color cards you're going to put down, and then a question. So it might be it might be 3, the Domino's Pizza Company logo.
Oh wow!
What colors is that?
Got to put the right colors down.
What colors would you put down?
Red.
Yep.
Is black a color in the game, or
it is a color?
Black.
Nope.
Blue.
Yep.
White.
Yes. You got it. So if you put those 3 colors down, you've got it. You get a point. And then there's ones like the 5, the Olympic rings. And you're like, I've seen these a million times.
Oh yeah.
But have you got them right? Or Pingu was another one. There's 5 colors for Pingu. He's got his little beard. Black and white. But what are the other colors? So it's a great game because I think it doesn't rely on the usual quiz knowledge, of dates and facts and names and all that sort of stuff that quizzes usually test. Which I quite enjoy as well. But the color one is also something that you pretty much play with anyone.
Yeah. You know what this reminded me of? The squares of color that you're laying down. That jungle speed where you
jungle speed.
You're trying to not get your knuckles torn off by somebody who's wearing loads of rings as you're trying to grab the wooden thing in the middle. Yes.
Jungle speed is just a dangerous game.
Very dangerous game when you've got playing it with 10 people.
You lay cards, and at some point there's a skittle in the middle, a wooden skittle, and you're all gathered around a table, and people are slowly playing cards. And when a certain combination of cards gets down, it's like the first person to grab the skittle in the middle. But everybody's reaching in and everybody's kind of doing this action of reaching in and grabbing it and forming a fist with the skittle in their hand, which is going towards the person either to the left or right.
Yes. So some close calls with that game, but pretty fun though.
Scrape knuckles and close calls. Yes, it's a fun game though.
Well, I did. Speaking of that, I did an online quiz just before I went to America. Friend of mine, Reverend Peter Laws, who's he does his own podcasts. He does the Creepy Cove community podcast and Frightful and so forth, which are all well listened to. But he's a massive, like you and I, he's a massive horror fan and particularly film horror. And so he did an online quiz, which kind of like a kind of 80s period horror. And
so you say.
And it was a couple of hours, quite
long,
right, and in rounds, but it was really, really good fun. And he did there was a cool round where he had horror film posters, but foreign language ones. So ones maybe created in the Philippines or wherever.
Some of the translated titles are great.
And but clearly
the art.
Some of the art. I mean, the person who drew the art had clearly never seen the film. They kind of heard maybe it's got a snake in it or something, and so the artwork looked nothing like the films, which was great for the quiz because you're trying to figure out what. And 9 out of 10 you're getting them wrong because it's completely nothing like the film. And so that was a lot of fun. I think
that's fun.
I think he plans on doing more down the road. I think so.
Yeah. There's a lot that can be done with these kind of quizzes to make the questions more than just trivia.
Oh, sure.
So.
Yeah.
So before we close, I've got one thing that I want to mention, which is topical in terms of time, and that's that I'm going to ask people if they would be willing to back me I'm going for a November challenge, and it's 100 press ups.
What,
in November?
100 over the course of 30 days.
Well, that's not too bad, is it?
Yeah.
But then I realized what I've signed up for is 100 every day. But on the good side, you don't have to do them all in one go. It's not like you got to do 100 press ups in one.
Oh, I think you should
go.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not up to that. I don't know if I'm up to it.
You might be by the end of the month.
So I can break it down into, like, I don't know, say 5 sets of 20 maybe, or 10 sets of 10,
okay. So
or 100 sets of 1 maybe.
The middle of the day, you're just going to just stop and then,
So when
so just hang on a second, I need to do 20 press ups.
Yeah, I'm just going to put the phone down. So when we're at Grogmeet, I'll sort of like take a break and.
Oh well, we'd maybe try and maybe get used to do them all in one go.
Oh Christ!
Everyone at Grogmeet can stand around and kind of everyone you do can throw some money for each one to get you motivated.
So I will put the link into the notes for this episode and on under the YouTube link or whatever. And if anybody is kind enough to so it's for, I should say it's for charity. It's for the cancer research charity, and and it is, for me, it is a genuine challenge, because I know I can do 100 if I break it down. I just don't know if I can do it every day, because that's quite a lot. And my mate Andy, who you've met, Andy, right, who paints motorbikes, he's quite a strong fella. He did it last year, and he found it quite a challenge towards the end of the month. I think it was kind of killing him.
Can I suggest something? Yeah.
Yes, please.
Get a photograph. Get a nice small
before and after
of Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah.
Right.
And you put it in your pocket. Yeah.
Yep.
Before you do every set, you look at it. You put it on the ground in front of you.
Yep.
I mean, staring at you, and the will to kind of do it. Yeah.
I like that.
And then because if you don't, you're just going to feel the shame, aren't you? Because Arnold's looking at you like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Yes.
Go through the pain. Done.
I mean, I don't know if you're saying that seriously, but I might actually do that.
Well, as I'm saying, I'm thinking that might actually be a good idea.
Yeah, I think it might be, because I am listening to Arnold's Pump Club.
Yeah,
when I do them at the moment, which is like a short, I mean, about the length of our Eldritch Stories podcast. Actually, I think it wasn't part of the inspiration, but it is like something that takes about the same duration, and it's Arnie talking for about 8 minutes, and I think certainly at the start it was about 1 episode a day. I'm not sure if he's keeping that up, and it's just him talking about general kind of training advice for fitness and health.
Well, it's mental and health and body kind of wellness, isn't it? I think broadly.
Yeah, but it's kind of things you could transfer a lot of the research and ideas and stuff that he talks about into kind of any walk of life, really, I think, to some degree. But it is, it is a great show. I think I find it very kind of motivating. So I would recommend that. So that's Arnold's Pump Club.
Yeah, well worth a listen. I've been listening to it as well, and just he's got a very charismatic voice anyway, and he's talking about something that's quite interesting most of the time. So and as you say, most of them are like 5 minutes long. So very easy to have a listen to.
And I like the bit, he's got a great like catchphrase, like he's trying to build the positive corner of the internet. Together we can lift up the world. And it's like, that's a great phrase. It kind of captures what he's saying, and it's nice. Yeah,
very good, very good. Well, so where do people need to go to get more good stuff, Paul?
Well, there's so many answers to that, but if you want to get more of what we are talking about, come to www.eldritchstories.com.
And you can subscribe there, or you can go to YouTube and look up the same Mason and Fricker's Eldritch Stories, and you can subscribe on YouTube as well to get the full audio visual experience. But if that's too much for you, then find us on on just audio on iTunes and Spotify and whatever it is,
wherever.
all the usual places. So
indeed,
and Also, we always like hearing your feedback and advice and what you want us, us to hear more of us talking about. And so feel free to post us a comment or two, or maybe go to the Facebook page for the podcast and let us know. Tell us what you think.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Oh, and lastly, don't forget to recommend it to somebody, who might enjoy it.
Indeed. All right. Well, until next time, it's what do they need to do, Mike, until next time?
Until next time, don't forget, keep it eldritch. It's like the two runners we just done at the end in this, trying not to move.
All right.